Can you transform your business from good to great? Yes, you can. So why is it so hard to become great? That's because often good is good enough. It's just easy to accept things as they are instead of pursuing greatness. This is exactly why great companies are so few and good enough ones are aplenty. Like in the case of Walgreens and Ecker and Walgreens were both already good companies, yet Walgreens worked on itself internally in ways that carried it to new heights, and their stock outperformed major companies like Coca-Cola by 8 times. And overall, the companies listed in this 5-year pursuit on average beat the market by 6.9 times. Jim Collins created a team to pursue the following question: how to turn a good organization into an organization with sustained great results. Throughout their pursuit, they found strict criteria by funneling down companies until they found 11 to which followed the pathway to greatness, beating some of what would be thought to be the best companies of the time, like General Electric and Intel. They found that there was a slow build-up to breakthrough process focused on having disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. No defining moment, lucky break, or singular action was attributed to their success, but rather continuous, hard work likened to pushing a giant heavy flywheel in one direction until it built momentum to break through and beyond. And it started with Level 5 leadership. Level 5 leaders are ambitious, but for their company first and themselves second. A strong mix of personal humility and professional will. They demonstrate that they are more of a workhorse than a show horse. They look outside towards their fellow workers to attribute success and look inward and blame themselves when things go poorly, known as the analogy of looking outside the window for success and at a mirror for failure. Jim and his team reasoned that too often the board of directors looked for celebrity-like leadership, far from Level 5. Level 5 leaders are often attributed with being fanatically driven to produce sustained results. They will do whatever it takes to make a company truly great. An old paper company named Kimberly-Clark gained a new CEO named Darwin E. Smith, who became a Level 5 leader. A key point that every good to great company had was Level 5 leadership during their transition era. Their stock, which values a company's worth, had fallen behind the general market by over 30% over the last 20 years, referring to Kimberly-Clark, but from 1971 to 1991, things changed. They beat the market by over 4 times, bested their direct rivals, amongst them being Procter & Gamble, and became the leading paper-based company in the world. What about Darwin Smith revolutionized this feeble paper company? Now, he wasn't someone at first glance whom you'd see as remarkable. He was shy, nerdy, and a bit awkward. He enjoyed vacation time on his farm and preferred the company of plumbers and electricians. Darwin was a self-made man. He grew up as a poor farm boy and had a strong resolve and discipline. While harvesting during the day and attending Indiana University at night, he cut off part of his finger, and the story goes, he went to school that same night and went back to work the next day. He kept working and earned his admission into Harvard Law School. Shortly after he became CEO, he was reminded of his lack of qualifications for the job, and also was diagnosed with nose and throat cancer at the time, with a prediction to have only 1 year left to live, to which he told the board he's not dead yet and doesn't plan on dying anytime soon. He kept up with his busy work schedule and went to radiation treatments. He ended up beating the cancer and lived another 25 years. During his career, he announced he would sell the mills, a decision that shocked the company based off an analysis that this method of business was mediocre, and instead shifted their entire focus to the consumer paper products market. Likening this scenario to his experience with cancer, if you have cancer in your own arm, you must be willing to sacrifice the arm. So too is he willing to sell the mills to either succeed or die here. This gutsy move, to which analysts downgraded the company and said the move was quote-unquote stupid, ended up transforming the company. Now, Darwin didn't flaunt himself, but rather responded to the question of what led to his success by saying, "I never stopped working on becoming qualified for the position." A level 5 leader is not someone who has an enormous ego, but someone who is compellingly modest and prefers to not be in the spotlight, to which the author believes potential level 5 leaders exist all around us if you know what to look for, and that people can evolve to become level 5 leaders. To the surprise of the team was the next step, for they initially thought that it would be a new vision and direction. It's actually first who, then what. to which can be summed up as the company itself being a bus, and therefore getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, and then figuring out where to drive it. 3 simple truths. First, if you begin with who rather than what, you can more easily adapt to the changing world. Second, if you have the right people on the bus, the problem of how to motivate and manage people largely goes away. And thirdly, if you have the wrong people, it doesn't matter where you are going because you still won't have a great company. Great companies focus on who first, like a level 5 management team, and then their heading, whereas comparison companies focused on first what, i.e. the genius, and then who, 1,000 helpers to help with the plan. The issue with the genius with 1,000 helpers model is once the genius leaves, the model fails. And regarding people decisions, be rigorous, not ruthless. Being rigorous is having the same exacting standards at all times and in all levels, especially in upper management, like how if someone does X, the consequence is Y, regardless of who they are, so standards are upheld. Being ruthless, on the other hand, is like laying off tons of people, especially in difficult times without careful consideration. One such example is of Wells Fargo in 1986, who acquired Crocker Bank, and in order to cut costs, looked inward on their people and found a long tradition where the executives would have a marble dining room with its own chef and over $500,000 worth of china, whereas the Wells Fargo team ate food prepared by a college dorm food service. Wells Fargo decided to cut a lot of the people who wanted to live higher than their fellow employees, resulting in around 1,600 Crocker managers being let go. Despite this seeming ruthless, it was in fact rigorous, due to Wells Fargo deciding to keep some of the best managers from Crocker and even let some of their own go. Similar to a professional sports team, you must make the cut every year, regardless of time at the company or position. 3 disciplines for being rigorous in people decisions. Number 1, if you're not 100% sure or have some glimpse of doubt, do not hire the person. Instead, keep looking. A company should grow based upon its own ability to attract enough of the right people. Number 2, if you know they are the wrong person and you need to make a change, act. Verify, though, that they aren't just simply in the wrong position or seat. Number 3, put your absolute best people on the biggest opportunities instead of your biggest problems. If you decide to get rid of your problems, remember to not get rid of your best people. Remember the example of Darwin Smith who sold the mills. Things weren't going to run like they used to, and people questioned what their future would look like. Darwin stated, "We need all the talented managers out there we can get," and in turn moved all his best people to the consumer business, their biggest opportunity. Facts are better than dreams. Similar companies, A&P and Kroger, who both sell groceries, had some facts of their own to face. Americans had changed, and so needed they. However, A&P liked the way they did things. It was good enough, they thought, and decided to not make any changes, but to just keep doing what they did, which was sell cheap groceries. Both companies were older. Kroger was 82 and A&P was 111 years old. Both companies had knowledge that the world was changing, and only one ended up facing the brutal facts, and the other decided to, well, put its head in the sand. This later led to A&P doing price cutting, which resulted in poorer service, and they dug themselves deeper into a hole. They struggled from 1970 to 2015, and poor decisions sent this so-called time-tested company to its grave in 2015, where it closed its doors for good. The exact opposite of this story was Kroger, and they saw that there was no sustainable approach to the old grocery model. Confronting this brutal fact led them to the knowledge that superstores were the way of the future. They decided to make some big changes by replacing every single store that didn't fit with the new reality. It later attained in 1999 the #1 seat of grocery stores in America. From this example, there were many key points, so how can you confront the brutal facts in your business? First, foster a culture where people can be heard. That way people don't tell you what you want to hear. Be open to the possibility that you are also wrong. This is probably the hardest for people because often these are well respected and even looked to for most of the answers. Also, engage conversations with questions, in dialogue and debate, not coercion. Don't simply give answers, let the answers come naturally, and when investigating a problem, do so without blame to see things as they are, and finally build red flag mechanisms to show you that something is wrong and something needs to be done. The Stockdale Paradox, referring to Admiral Jim Stockdale, the highest-ranking U.S. military officer in the Hanoi Hilton prisoner of war camp during the Vietnam War. He survived by saying, "I never lost faith in the end of the story, never doubted that he would get out, but that he would prevail and turn the experience into a defining moment in his life." Jim Collins asked Stockdale who didn't make it out. Stockdale replied, "Oh, that's easy, the optimists." To which Stockdale expounded and said, "They died of a broken heart, one of their own making. They'd believe by Christmas they'd be out, and then Christmas would come and go. Then they would believe it would be Easter, which would go, then Thanksgiving, and then it was Christmas again." A powerful truth that Jim learned is you must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. The story of a fox and a hedgehog based on a Greek parable. The fox knows many things, and the hedgehog knows one big thing. Day after day, the fox tries to get the hedgehog. Cunning as ever, he makes numerous attempts. However, the hedgehog just does one thing, and that is roll up into a little ball of spikes, and the fox is outwitted again and again. The hedgehog always wins. Likening this to ourselves, foxes seek many different ends and are often scattered and think on different levels. Hedgehogs can simplify complex things into a single organized idea. They reduce challenges so that they are able to comprehend and overcome them. Many of the great companies utilize something the team called the Hedgehog Concept. Compared to fox companies, who were always scattered and inconsistent, an example of the Hedgehog Concept is from Walgreens to be the best, most convenient drugstores with high profit per customer visit. And that was enough. A simple idea and the driving force that the company continued towards always. Walgreens did this by closing good stores to open great ones, even if the location was right around the corner. They engineered drive-in pharmacies to fit being more convenient, as well as photo developing, which increased its profit per customer visit. This concept continued to allow Walgreens to grow simply by more customers visiting, which multiplied exponentially with increasing profit per customer visit. They then threw the cash back into the system to build more convenient stores, simple yet profoundly effective. Creating your own Hedgehog Concept, the 3 circles Venn diagram. Number 1, what you can be the best in the world at, as well as what you're not the best at. Number 2, what drives your economic engine and how to generate robust and sustained cash flow as well as profitability. And number 3, what are you deeply passionate about? Focus on what lights your fire and find what makes you passionate. The secret to sustain great results is based upon a company culture of discipline. Often this is misconstrued as a tyrant who disciplines, and this is largely wrong due to it destroying the innovative minds and things no longer becoming as fun as they used to be. People start to no longer enjoy what they do and are filled with numerous meetings that feel pointless, and this continues, then you start losing great people. A culture of discipline revolves around people who follow a consistent system and still gives people freedom and responsibility within that system. The discipline to follow their Hedgehog Concept and stay away from whatever isn't inside that concept. Simply said, but harder to do. Don't chase the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities unless it fits within your 3 circles. A good to great company exemplified this by showing they had disciplined people who had disciplined thoughts, which led to disciplined action. A quote from the book: "Everyone would like to be the best, but most organizations lack the discipline to figure out with egoless clarity what they can be the best at and the will to do whatever it takes to turn that potential into a reality. They lack the discipline to rinse the cottage cheese." An analogy the group took from world-class athlete Dave Scott, who biked 75 miles, swam 20,000 meters, and would run 17 miles on average every day. Dave believed that a low-fat, high-carb diet would give him the edge, so he would literally rinse his cottage cheese to get rid of the excess fat. No evidence of that he absolutely needed to do. However, the point is he took one extra small step to create a consistent program of self-discipline. Carl Reichardt has an unwavering belief in Wells Fargo emerging as a stronger company from bank deregulation. He chose to cut wasteful spending with the idea of we will not ask everyone else to suffer while we sit on high. He froze executive salaries for over 2 years. He shut down the fancy executive dining room and preferred a college dorm food service caterer. He even removed free coffee from executive suites, sold corporate jets, and cut Christmas trees for management. On the contrary, Bank of America chose to keep its elitism for their executives and ended up losing over $1.8 billion across 3 years in the mid-1980s while Wells Fargo was prospering. Learning how to use technology to accelerate their business was a big difference in good to great companies. Walgreens, for example, was faced with what will they do amidst the new and upcoming internet. The new and cool .com companies were everywhere, and apparently a lot of investors had more faith in a company trading at 398 times their revenue, like drugstore.com, versus Walgreens, who was trading at 1.4 times revenue. Analysts even decided to downgrade Walgreens, which resulted in a $15 billion loss in market value. Despite the pressure, the response to Forbes from Dan Jornt was, "We are a crawl, walk, run company," to describe their more methodical approach to the new flashy internet. A remarkable thing they did was ask questions that would fit with their business model, or Hedgehog Concept. How will the internet help us connect to our convenience concept? How can we ensure it's tied to increasing cash flow per customer visit? And how can we use the web to enhance our business in a way we are passionate about with the world? Remember the Stockdale paradox? Walgreens executives stated, "We have complete faith that we can prevail in an internet world as a great company, yet we must also confront the brutal facts and reality of the internet." They quietly learned and worked on making their own internet web page for Walgreens, one that was largely wrapped around their Hedgehog concept. Calm, deliberate steps forward, like filling out your prescription online and swinging by to grab it in our drive-thru, or even having it shipped to you to add convenience. Their web page, Walgreens.com, rivaled the usability and interface of Amazon.com back in 2000. What about Drugstore.com? What happened to them? Well, they did the opposite and went from a run, massive unreasonable growth, to a walk, announcing layoffs to conserve cash, and finally a crawl, losing nearly all of its initially hyped value. What was learned? You will not become a great company because of snazzy technology, hype, and an irrationally exuberant stock market. No, they would only become great if they would figure out how to apply the technology to an understandable concept that reflects what lies in the middle of their three circles. There will always be new technologies like that of railroads, electricity, radio, television, and the internet, to name a few. And with all these changes, great companies must adapt and endure, facing the brutal facts and staying true to their Hedgehog concept, utilizing technology not because of a fear of getting left behind, but rather to help grow their business after deliberate thinking. Recapping, so why do some companies make the leap and others do not? Largely because they do not want it badly enough and settle for good enough. Good companies that turn into great companies have level 5 leadership who are humble and care about the company above all else and push for the success to be on others rather than themselves. Think of it like quiet success. They focus on first who, the great people they want in their company, then what direction they will be heading. They always must face the brutal facts no matter what they are telling them and act accordingly. Great companies focus on what they can be the best at, their economic engine, as well as what they are passionate about, the Hedgehog concept. Great companies create a strong culture of discipline throughout the entire company with no entitlement. And finally, great companies utilize technology methodically to enhance their company while remaining true to their three circles. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic day and remember to finish strong.